discuss matters businesses around the world. And this particular morning, we focus solely on family businesses because they are the backbone of economies when it comes to job creation and economic growth, really. And we want to understand hii maneno ya family business, the navigation of it, the dynamics of it that come with how do we ensure that for family business, it doesn't go crumbling, because we've seen a lot of this particular family businesses going down. Research by Asoko Insight shows that as recent as early this year, there are close to about 500 family-owned businesses. That's quite a lot, so we'll be understanding what this means. And to help us have this conversation, a gentleman who understands matters entrepreneurship, really, Rafael Mato. He's an economist, as well as a financial consultant and an entrepreneur. Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
Good to have you. The last time was way back to discuss maneno ya economy and finance bill back in the day.
Yeah, so today is unique. We are here to discuss business. You know, every time you call me to discuss the economy. Yeah, so it's good to have a different topic and it's, yeah, quite encouraging.
But then underlay, because as I was alluding earlier in Kianza, family businesses really hold a strong forte when it comes to even the country's economy. Inaweza kuwa one particular family business is here having quite the wrangles, but then the impact definitely affects the economy. So first off, in a global perspective, before we narrow it down to Kenya, what are your thoughts on family businesses, really, the evolution that has been over the years?
So I think, as you have said, when most people hear family businesses, they normally see is a no-go zone. But statistics, of course, can be quite surprising, because if you look, for example, in the developed world, on average, that % of the big businesses are family-owned, and things are even much different. When you come to emerging markets as well as developing countries, you realize that between 50% to 80% of the very successful businesses are family-owned businesses. The only thing is that most of these businesses, they have some common characteristics. Others, of course, have very unique characteristics, and I think that is what we're going to be discussing today. Yeah.
And specifically, even in Kenya,
yeah,
as an entrepreneur, you deal with other entrepreneurs, either directly or indirectly.
Yeah.
What has been your experience with particularly, let's say, family-owned kind of businesses? The kind of structure that is in there, what you're mentioning, the characteristics that are there kind of similarities and differences? Walk us through that.
So maybe I think as a consultant and a person who is in business, I can say that family businesses, they have quite some unique challenges. And I think the biggest challenge comes in, especially in terms of governance. Most of them, the founders, they have big dreams, they have the visions. But I think when it goes to putting up proper governance structures, I think that is where we draw the line. Yeah.
So where does it really start? Because you'd find, before you even get into the inheritance,
yeah,
this idea has been born. The father, the mother, or however that family really is set up, decides, leo wacha tuanzishe biashara ya kutransport miwa kutoka hapa,
okay,
kutoka from Western all the way to Nairobi. And that's, born from that household.
Yeah.
How do you then separate from family to business, the governance of it, and say the kind of decisions that are made should only be made in this place, okay, and not in this kind of a setup?
So I think the uniqueness, first of all, that we need to understand is that here we're discussing three things. We are discussing the owner of the business, we are discussing the family, and we are also discussing leadership, or maybe management. Are you part in the management? There are those, they are the founders of the owners of the business are the founders. There are also those members of the family who are not part of the business. There are those members of the family who are also owners of the business. And there are also those members of the family who are also involved in the day-to-day running of the business. But I think before we even think how the framework comes on board, and how family members come on board. We need to understand that when we talk about challenges in governance, the other thing that ties alongside that is the issue of succession. Because now that we have talked about the owner of the business, he comes in, ideas, the vision, very successful. But of course, this person will not live forever. So how do we make sure that this business carries on, maybe even after the owner of the business is no longer there? And like we have said, you're asking, where does it start? And I think we should look at it in 3 phases.
Okay.
First of all is as we bring up children within the family setup. What kind of conversation and what kind of experiences are these kids getting? And we really try to introduce them into the entrepreneurship, into the business setup. But again, we also need to realize that not all of them will be interested in business. So therefore, it is maybe a matter of the kind of conversation we have in them, whether they want to show interest or not. Because at that level, we should be very careful not to force them into getting into business if that is not part of the interest. The other part now will be the ones who will have the interest and those who will come and join the business. So how do we take them through the processes? Because some of the mistakes we make is because you're a family business, you come in and you'll be given big positions.
Yes.
Some areas you have no experience.
You're the vice president of that.
Yes, you have no exposure, And you realize that for most successful businesses, when now we're in the middle phase, you start from the lowest level, or maybe from a level in which you're qualified, and then you rise through the process. Maybe the third stage is now when the owner is to exit. Okay, so who is qualified and who is capable of now taking the business to the next step? But in between that process, is important to realize that even as we bring family members, I think the best model is to make sure that as they work in the business, we also incorporate other professionals to come and help in running the business. And whether you're a family member or not, you should also be treated like any other member of the team, regardless of the position you are in.
Because now I wanted to get into that.
Yes.
How important getting outside parties who are independent thinkers. Because as you say, having these family members here, they might be, yes, professionals. The children of the father and the mother, they might be professionals really. But then emotions can run deep in some very pertinent decisions to be made. Yes. So how important now is it to have independent thinkers?
So I think the first thing is that families need to have conversations, that when you're at home, you are family, but when you are in business, you are team players and maybe probably operating in a very different kind of environment. And the way we interact and the way we communicate and the way we socialize in the family and maybe when we're in the business should be totally very different thing. For example, if maybe, for example, the father is the owner of the business and you have brought in your kids on board, it would be quite not right, maybe when you're meeting in the office and maybe every time you're even in the board, oh, my dad has said this, my sister has said this. I think it's good that like when you now get into business, try to turn it and make it a bit formal in such a way that you'll be calling each other by the name or maybe by the position which they hold, so that you draw the line that when we're in business is a totally different environment when we're at home. But again, when we have those kind of conversations, we'll also be able to realize that maybe probably we cannot handle everything as members of the family, and maybe that is where the professionals come in. And you also need to understand when the professionals come in, you don't have to really, they don't have to be under you. They can also come in and others be over you, depending on the positions, depending on your capabilities, and depending on your experience. So how you're going to integrate that is very, very important. But first of all is to create that formality that when we're in business, we're in business. When we're at home, then that is going to be family, and those are two totally different issues. Yeah.
How do you ensure that there's no role confusion just at the beginning of this setup of this family-owned kind of a business?
So to avoid the role confusion, I think this is where we said we need proper governance that is put in place. And of course, governance comes with very clear policies. For example, we have to have a policy on recruitment. We have to have a policy guiding us on communication, maybe who communicates on behalf of the business. Not everybody who comes in and says our business like this. Who is responsible of, maybe, for example, if something happens and we need to talk to the media, so who comes in and maybe talks on behalf of the business. We should also be able to have maybe a very clear investment policy as a business, because we have different perspectives, we have different thoughts. But as a family business, maybe we can invest in shares up to this limit. We can invest in property or real estate up to this much. We must have some policies and guidelines. Those are very clear. And when we have those policies and clear guidelines, and then, of course, a very clear organizational structure, that this will make sure that everybody comes in and they play their role, regardless of whether you're family members or maybe you're from outside.
Right. Yeah. This is a perfect time to even remind you as a viewer that you can always be part of this conversation. The question of the day for you, we're asking, have you ever been in a family-owned business? Have you ever been in that kind of a setup? What is your experience so far? Call us live, 0795 045 864. We'll be glad to hear your voice, the kind of experiences zenye umepitia hapa nje when it comes to a family-owned business. Either you're working that or you and your family members came up with that. 22047 is our SMS number. You can also text us on WhatsApp, 0793 267 279. I'll be taking a look at them as we continue before we wrap it up. You had mentioned about transition briefly, and yes. I'd really like to touch on that because it seems as if, so what you're saying was the genesis of the crumbling of family-owned business comes in the nick of now that transition.
Yes, yes.
Either one of the family members, the heads, either exited or passed away. So that having that transition, and it really seems as if a number of family-owned businesses in the country have undergone that.
Yes.
Walk us through that proper transition phase. How should it be? Do the other family members, should they take a step back and now let other outdoor and external parties help them in that transition, or should they also be part of that?
I think, first of all, like we have said, we mentioned, I think, some different dynamics of businesses, whether we're in the developed world or in the developing countries. And there is that element whereby if you look at businesses and you talk about transition, then what is it like we are looking into, or maybe what kind of questions are we asking? What is necessary now that maybe the person who was at the helm is leaving? What is it like we are looking for, maybe for the people who are coming to take over? And if I may go back to maybe some kind of research, is you realize that in developing countries, what happens is that most family businesses, they focus a lot on stability and resilience. And when you look at maybe the developing countries, maybe that something different. They focus a lot on succession. Like most of, in the developed world, most people will leave the business maybe quite at an early age. Whereas in developing countries like ours, we have seen maybe people staying quite long in the business, and maybe there could be some reasons why that happens, especially if there is a bit of maybe the customers have a lot of confidence on the business. If, of course, also staying longer in the business will be able to help you to provide a bit of stewardship and so forth. Like I said earlier, when it goes to the process of transition, it is important that it starts early. What happens in our case, as you have said, is like at times the succession comes in when there is necessity, or maybe someone has passed on who was in charge of the business, or maybe becomes incapacitated. But it should be a long-term process. Remember earlier we talked about how we bring up our kids within the business environment, and how we try to show them exactly what we do, how the business runs, and so forth. Because it's very difficult for someone who is, maybe the business has been there for the last 50 years or 70 years, and then you are being brought in simply because the owner of the business, or maybe probably the founder, is no longer there, and you have to come in and fit in the shoes of that person. you don't have the vision, you don't believe in the values, you don't believe in the principles of that business. Maybe your interest is even totally very different. So coming in at that time may become a bit difficult. So therefore, this kind of succession, as we have said, is very important. We look at it as we bring up our kids, but as we said earlier, those who may not be interested in the business, let's not force them into the business. Those who wants to come in and take over the business, let them learn through the process. We have seen like even how our Asian community works in the country. Let them also rise through the process. Let them be treated like anyone else. Let them be promoted on the basis of merit, on the basis of qualifications, on the basis of experience. And again, as you now target, maybe there's also need to target at what point do you want to exit as maybe the founder of the business, because as you exit, there are several things we need to consider. One, there could be financial implications. In certain companies, probably the people who are taking over the business, they may have to come in and buy you out. So these people maybe being able to muscle enough finances so that they'll be able to buy out at that point. Others, they'll maybe want to leave shares. Your kids or people coming to take over do not have to pay you. They'll just come in and take over the business. But as they come in, do they believe in the values? Do they have the vision, taking the company forward? But as you have said, it's not something that they can learn overnight. So it is something that has to be processed. It's something that has to be sequential. It has to be so that, of course, we can have flow. So what we have had in our country is that is usually kind of most cases random. All of a sudden, the founder is not there, and now we are all running to fight who will take over, you see. And I think
everyone has their own ideas.
Yes. And you see, in fact now we have the push and pull. The business comes crumbling down. Yeah. And remember, as we have said, these businesses have a very big impact in the economy. The collapse of such a business again has serious negative consequences in the economy equally when we come fighting and crumbling for the business. Yeah.
But then, Mato, someone might be listening to you and they're wondering, I want to engage with a family member in terms of business. It doesn't have to be that utopia and Tunaeka, it's a whole business setup.
Yes.
It's a medium scale kind of enterprise.
Okay.
It might be just a small scale. I'm a medium scale, but then it's just a transaction really. It doesn't have to be at your board and nanini, all that kind of a structure.
Okay.
It's just a transaction between two family members. Makuzo wawili tu wanataka kufanya biashara.
Okay.
Ndogo. How do you go about that?
First of all, it's important to build trust and confidence as you transact one another. But very, very important, whichever kind of business you're doing, no matter how small it is. Like maybe, for example, assuming you're my cousin, you're my brother, and luckily we have been able to hit a deal somewhere, maybe to supply 20, 30 cameras somewhere, with high value, and maybe we are capable of doing that business. I think it is good to have an agreement as how much are we bringing to the business, how are we going to do the profit sharing, maybe probably after we have been able to do the delivery for the goods. And over and above that, it is also very important that if possible, we both of us should be able to have the control of the finances. Like what most people nowadays do is that if you're getting to, that kind of a simple arrangement, meaning that it's not long term. And we have, like, for example, to do a delivery. So why don't we just have a common joint account? We do the delivery. Of course, we have our agreement. That money comes to the account. Both of us, we are signatories into that account. So the moment the payment has been made, so no one can run away with the money. Eventually, both of us, we have to go to the bank and agree and withdraw the money. That will give a bit of confidence and will help us to be able to maneuver. But whatever the case, I think whatever no matter how small the business is, let's try to move formal. Let's try to put up the formalities, no matter how small they may be. Why most of the things have really collapsed is most people ignore those very basic formalities, even if it's getting into an agreement. Maybe you are running a small business, you meet in a board, you make a resolution, So those small things should be in paper. Like maybe we are partnering with you, or you're even my brother, you're my cousin, and you have to bring money to the business, and you are both of us maybe members of the board. So let's put it in writing that we have agreed on this and this day, so and so we'll bring this amount of money to the. Let's not just do it like a layman. So let's, no matter how small they may look, let's try to be formal. Yeah, let's try to make it them formal.
And speak of even how to formalize it, the whole spirit of professionalism.
Yeah.
Disputes we've definitely said will occur here because emotions might run deep. So how do you conduct the dispute resolution amid this family-owned business?
What happens, of course, we have different methods of solving disputes, but like I've said, it will be maybe very difficult if at all we don't have this kind of formal or documentation, you know, or maybe agreements along the way. But in most cases, we look for third parties, you know, someone who is a bit neutral, someone who is able to listen to both ends, you know. At some point, we may have to proceed on and look for maybe professional mediators if things maybe go beyond a certain limit. Some other cases, maybe the worst goes to the worst. We find a scenario whereby the disputes have to be sorted out through the legal framework. But to avoid all those things, it is very, very important to have a common understanding along the processes and to have very, very open conversations as we undertake the businesses.
Right.
Yeah.
Mato, I say our time is up.
Yeah.
Just to reiterate and encompass everything you've told us in a sentence, a takeaway home for someone who's listening to you this morning na anataka kufungua biashara na familia yake.
Yeah, so I think what I can say is that family businesses are workable, but let's make sure that we put in proper governance structures. Let's make sure that we have very, very open conversations, and above all, let's make sure that we are very, very formal in whatever we do, so that when everything is done right, then it is important. That can really help us in sustaining the business. Otherwise, when we do things in a crooked way, both of us, you know, even when we call them mediators, as we have said, they may not know from where to pick who is talking the truth, who is not talking the truth. But people should not fear family businesses, but let's make sure that we have good corporate governance structures in place. It's very, very important.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Raphael Mato. He's an economist as well as a financial consultant and entrepreneur. We're asking you, have you ever worked with a family member in a business? If yes, what is your experience? 2 comments before we take a break. Chimutai Abigail anasema my family members business does not allow me to work with them. And Van de Zak anasema they'll always remind you I don't work with relatives. What is your experience? Keep talking to us. Our digital platforms are open. Endelea kuongea na sisi hapo 22047 is our SMS number. We're taking a short break. When we come back, I'll be taking you all the way to Naivasha to learn matters agribusiness with Willie Dennis Njiru. Don't go too far.
Hey there friends, welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, Grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Right, about 2 minutes past the top of the hour. Thank you very much for sticking around. This is Morning Cafe. I'm yours truly, Stanley Nyiringita. Time for some agribusiness. Taka nikupeleke all the way to Naivasha in Nakuru County. Our very own Willie Dennis Njiru is. As we learn some grape farming, he'll be telling us all about that. Willie Dennis Njiru, a very, very good morning to you. I don't know how chilly it is. I don't know the weather it is. Unaweza tuambia how the weather is looking like and what umetupakulia leo.
Asante sana Stanley Nyiringita. Weather hapa si mbaya. It's all fine and fantastic. The sun is about to get hot, but as such, it's a bit bushy today, as you can see. In a farm in Karate village in the outskirts of Naivasha town. And apparently, I'm dwelling on a very, very lucrative business. It's one of the fruits that many of people, of the locals, are not able actually to purchase across the shelves. Now, this is a bush, about an acre or so. But as such, surprisingly, I want to just give a small background of exactly what goes on and where I am before the farmer comes into place and gives us insight in regard to this. I will not say how old I am, but in between 1975 and 1978, these plants were put down by the farmer. And for as long as since 1975 to 78 has been in existence. The farmer here in season out has been harvesting fruits here that are actually seasonal, and this happens once in every year. So as such, there's too much into it because this plant actually has to be taken great care of, because actually if that does not happen, then as you can see, the stems are very bleak and they can easily break. But it requires a lot of pruning to ensure that all is well, to ensure that you have good fruits by the end of the season. And if my camera person could just get closer, these are a few insights that I've got. The branches, as you can see, they are very small, and yet they have a lot of burden where some of it have to hang, actually go down because they are heavy. And then we have a few of the strings, as you can see some of them here. And these strings are, the farmer uses them to actually stiffen them against these lines that actually they are actually iron steels that enforces the branches to ensure that the weight of the branch does not actually be broken by the heavy load. Now, before that comes into place, we also have this stem. And the stem, the farmer will give insight, but it's just a small painting on the situation and the scenario we are expecting. The stem is about 50 years old, but as you can see, walisema kwa Kiswahili kwamba jungu kuu alikosi ukoko, and we can see a bit of ukoko in it, but as such it has been just doing the best that it can be able to offer the farmer. This stem is able to produce about 300 kilos. And the 300 kilos, 1 kilo goes for around 300 shillings in the current price from the farmer to the market. Just make your calculations. The stems around here are about 300 shillings, and all in about 1 acre. So that gives a small calculation on how lucrative the business is and what it is actually able to bring you about. Just make your calculations. Now, we are just about to start the show, and the teacher is just, Mwalimu, just get closer. Now, There's this man called Evans Mwangi Karaoke. He has been a teacher for the past 36 years within Naivasha. Many at times, people accord farming as a retirement area where anybody, you and I, or any civil servant, will retire and venture into agriculture. But seemingly, when you have this concept at an early age, maybe like Stanley or I, this would actually give you great benefits even at the time of retirement. This teacher, just get closer, Mwalimu. He's a retired teacher for the last 3 years, but actually he's been a farmer. He's going to be shedding much light on what actually has been going on this sector and where we are as a country in regard to this. Before we get to other things, we must explore you quite outrightly so that you can benefit to our viewers. Mwalimu, karibu sana.
Asante.
Jitambulisha na kushikia.
My name is Evans Mwangi Karaoke, and said I've been a teacher for the last 36 years actually, and retired 3 years ago. Yeah. So we are now in the farms trying one or two things so that we can remain busy. Yeah.
All right. Just now, somebody who is watching the show, take us into it. What does it take to start preparing this, the land, tilling the land, putting the cuttings down?
Yeah.
After how long should we expect our first fruit? The challenges, the spraying, the markets of the fruits, those are what the viewer wants to hear.
Okay.
Just right. Face the audience.
Yeah. What happens, or where we start, we propagate the grapes using cuttings. So if we cut, let's say, this piece about 1 feet, we can then transfer this to a nursery. Or if you are ready with your holes, you can just transfer this directly to avoid maybe the shock that will be coming when you are trying to transplant. So before you do the cuttings, definitely you prepare the holes. They're supposed to be 2 by 2, 2 feet by 2 feet. Then alternatively, you have your soil in the nursery, depending on how you want to go about it. So after cutting, you just transfer them. Give them maybe about a month or so, they start shooting. There we go, we involve a lot of training, because you see we have these posts as they are growing. Then there is this time, but this is, first of all, you train them to that height, then apply now these wires. So it can take about 3 years before you get your first harvest. And from there, they are sort of lifetime trees, we can say. Yeah, going by the age of these ones. Yeah.
So since it's an annual fruit, it just gives its production once per year, and the leaves seems to be shedding, and perhaps they seem to be somehow not so rosy as somebody would love to have seen. Tell us when it gives its fruit and what is actually happening now.
Now, what is happening at the moment, because the market we are targeting, they will be buying at around March, April.
Yes.
At around April. So you have to take your time before you prune.
Yes.
It takes about 5 months from pruning to maturity.
All right.
So it means now if you do it around this time, you can give yourself now 5 months and see when they will be ready
to have your harvest.
So we are sort of deliberately delaying pruning so that they will mature when the market is ready. So we have that market that we are targeting. These are people who will come and buy these fruits 1, 2, 3 days. and
The whole farm.
the whole farm.
So you're trying. This is what you're saying, that when you prune, you have already triggered the rise of the production of the fruit by the stems.
Yes, because as that one is happening, we also now do something. You can see the bends are not clean.
Yes.
So these will go hand in. These will go hand in hand. Pruning is going on. We are doing something. We are doing something about the bends so that they are clean. We do away with the weeds. So by the time they start shooting, the farm is clean. Remember, we have more work involved. When they start shooting, there will be suckers to be done away with and all this. There will be spraying that has to be done. So there will be those many activities up to the time they will be harvested. Yes.
So in our side interview before we went on air, you were talking about the challenges that you have been facing over the time in terms of the application of the farm chemicals.
Yeah.
What about it, and where are we as a country and as a region?
Yeah, okay. The challenge, I would say the main challenge has to do with farm inputs. That is one. Because if farmers, if we were to get, starting with the extension services,
officers,
who will come and visit the farms. Now, when they visit the farms, they are able to advise us.
Yes.
Because I would say the climate has changed, and therefore things are not that good. But in terms of extension officers who are no longer there, they will be able to guide us on how best to do
So
it.
they have not been present.
They have not been present. I would say we have never seen one.
How have you been able to cope up with whatever the challenge that comes into place?
So I would say the farmers are left on their own. Yes. So it's a matter of go to private agronomists, do some consultation, buy whatever they recommend, come and apply. I would say is try and
error.
Yeah. So you are not sure. But if we can work together with extension officers, because we believe the government is in a position to support its farmers. There is no way we are going to increase production. From the top there, we are talking about subsidizing production. But this one should be followed by action. Even if you give those inputs and there is no follow-up on how they are being used, are we really going to increase food production? That's where we are failing. I would say we are failing because we are not coming down to farmers. Whatever you see here, this is just someone's efforts. There is nowhere the government has come in. The only thing, we are in Malewa westward, and we are unfortunate that our area MCA has been in touch with us and is doing a lot, especially to supply water. Currently, we are having a new borehole up here. There is another one on this side, and they are supposed to supply water to the community. That way, we will be able to get water to irrigate our grapes, and that will help us a lot.
So it requires a lot of water?
Yeah, it requires water. Actually,
a lot of it?
Not a lot of it. You know, this is a dry area plant.
Yes.
But you see, that little required by the plant, you need the water. If you don't have the water, then it will not do well. So, we thank our MCA, but believe more needs to be done. If we can have, you see, apart from now, what we require to spray our grapes, we also need things like fertilizer and other inputs. And we can only manage these if we are supported by the government. Individual farmers might not go very far. Because we believe apart from that, you see now we are targeting a particular market for this.
All right.
The government should also come in and see, because this area is these grapes does well.
All right.
Meaning many farmers can venture into it so long as there is market.
Right.
Yeah. So we need support from the government. Yeah.
So once this plant is up to maturity, all you need is to prune and to take your fruits to the market. Do you need to take your fruits to the market, or those who are buying your produce come direct to the farmer? And because it's quite a delicate fruit and it's quite fragile, how do you manage this?
Now,
and of course, don't forget to mention we have the white one and then the maroon one, and not forgetting South Africa are doing so well about it. And of course, we have wine produced by it. We have also to mention about that. And like Egypt, they are doing the church wine also. Yeah.
Maybe I go back to what I said. We need support from our government in this sense. One, when we come to the market, we are actually relying now on only the local market.
Right.
And that is why I'm saying the delay is because we know they are
targeting.
dates. We know when they will be coming for this. We have the calendar. So if we are not relying on just that local market, there could be chances of these ones could have been pruned even last month because we are sure when they are ready, we have somewhere to sell.
Okay.
But we cannot risk now because you don't just harvest this and take it to the market and display there. You don't expect
it's a perishable,
It's a perishable item.
And fragile.
That means you want to time or to target those people when they require these grapes. They just come, they call, they know they are ready. Actually, these are churches who use them during their festivals. And the calendar says when they will be doing this.
That is in the month of April.
Now, in 2025.
Right.
In the other year, there is still a date when they will be be having their festivals.
So your target market in large quantity is the church?
The church.
For the church wine?
No, mainly, church wine is made. After you are done with the main thing, whatever remains, then
the residues
you can make wine. And you see, if, without support, you see even making of this wine requires support so that it is done in the right manner. So that is where we are.
So other than those people who just have these for just consumption as a fruit, do we have any, perhaps a small or big factory that maybe the farmer could be supplying? Like we have sugarcane and the Western sugar factories where they can produce sugar. So do we have a pressing factory where we can have this press, then we have our own wine from Kenya, or all this is externally?
Here we don't have. What can be done is exactly what I'm saying. We get the support. Many farmers do the
grapes.
Because in actual sense, we had many farmers before who are doing it.
Just doing
But they have given up.
Yes.
But if they are encouraged, you have more farmers. From there, we can even have now a place, a common market to sell our produce. That way, we will come up even with value addition. But as we stand, right now there are very few farmers who are doing it because of frustrations.
So, in a nutshell, have you tried, maybe as a concerted effort from the farmers within, or maybe with the county government or your area MCA, perhaps you will be giving us 1-2 points in regard to the challenges you're facing. Have you perused the Egypt books or the South African books to ensure that maybe from their pitfalls, you can learn something, you can learn the applications, and maybe the county, which agriculture is devolved and should be directly involved in what you're doing? Have you had references to what they are doing? Because now, if a wine press has to come here, we must have a good produce to ensure that there is consistency.
Maybe to answer that, I'm trying to tell you that for us even to improve the quality of our plant, we need total support. I would like to say that our MCA has been very concerned. He's on the ground as we speak because he wants to assist us in this one. And not necessarily in grape farming, but even in other sector. But you see, the question on maybe going through whatever they are doing in Egypt, I personally was in Israel in 2016.
Right.
Yeah?
Well,
and that support came from New KCC. I was sent there by New KCC as a farmer. So we had time to see, not really peruse, see what they are doing, how the government is assisting. So the issue here, this common person will not do much without the support of the government. There is a lot we can do. We have, at least we have that knowledge. What we need with the support of our government, we also have that knowledge, and we can assist one another. Yeah. But they are nowhere.
Your market is the church.
The church,
other than I and the other person.
Or someone coming here to buy 2 kilos, 3 kilos. But you see now, in such a farm, you cannot expect, you cannot target that person because they will buy some few kilos, the rest will go into waste. Because when it matures, it reaches a stage where it starts drying. So you need these people who will come buy everything.
Before I come to you, tell me about how you make your homemade wine. We have the local MCA here. Kindly introduce yourself. That's why we called you here, so that perhaps you can give insight in regard to the predicaments the farmers are alluding to. You are brought up here. Maybe this is your coffee. What do you have to say?
Thank you very much. I'm Francis Mungai Kuria, aka K5. I'm the area MCA, elected by the great people of Malewa West Ward. This is a ward that is in Gilgil constituency.
But largely Naivasha.
Largely Naivasha. And I say this because once administrative-wise we are in Naivasha, politically we are in Gilgil. So this ward has 2 MPs. That is Mheshimiwa Jane Kihara, who is MP, Naivasha MP, and Mheshimiwa Martha Wangari, who is the Gilgil MP. Yeah, so I feel much honored by these people for giving me this position so that I can represent them.
All right.
Yeah, now, I'm much grateful because we are in a farm where we do grape farming, and Malewa West Ward is one of the areas where we do farming.
Grape farming.
Grape farming, and as you can see and witness, we are in a 2-acre piece of land where the farmer do only grape farming. This is a crop that is more benefits to the local and also in international markets, where when we do this farming, we have the products that come from the plant, that is the fruit by the name grape, which is more productive to us as Kenyans and at nation at large. Yes.
So now there are the challenges, the oblivious challenges that the farmer is concerned that there is no hand of the government that for this matter, seemingly because the agriculture sector is devolved.
Yeah.
And they are saying there is no hand of the devolved function on what they are doing. And the farmer has actually put it across that these plants are older than even I.
Yeah. For sure it's true. And there before we lack information. But as of now we are more digitalized. I can say we have transformed from analog to digital. Why am I saying this? As of now, we have programs that are running across the the county. That is the National Agriculture Value Additional Programs that are coming in. We are chipping in through the World Bank and the county and the national government, so that we can be able to improve the farming system and also give support to our farming, our farmers.
The sentiment, anybody watching the show now can attest to the fact that there is enough challenges, aside the big benefits that the farmers are facing now, some of it being appropriate applications to ensure that there is consistency of good fruit and a larger market. We even don't have enough production to encourage an investor to put up a wine pressing plant around the country.
Yeah.
What do you have to say? Largely, Nakuru has been renowned for even doing the pyrethrum because of its potential in that sector. Now, the agriculture flopped. The pyrethrum flopped. Now, this is yet another giant almost going down. You sit in the assembly. You are the people that the other people are looking to ensure that things are looking up.
Sure. For now, we have opened a new page as we are the new elected leaders in this term. And I personally, and even with the county government, we have tried our best, we are trying our best on how we are going to improve production on our farming system. We are trying to improve the farming system. And this is one, we are within our budget, we have tried our best on how to have a budget on maybe how to facilitate better and have better production of the crops. That is one, through by ensuring that the farmers are having proper equipment to till the land. So that we are making the government to roar we give support to our farmers. But that is by reducing the cost of tax by equipment that used to cultivate the land. We make sure that we have the chemicals are in a best price, because once we raise the cost of the chemicals, the farmers are unable to access those chemicals. So we are able to make sure that the chemicals are reachable to by the farmers by lowering the cost. That's we are ensuring or insisting the government to make sure not to break the hands of the farmer. Because once we increase the cost of the living, especially to the farmers, we are killing the economy of our nation.
Now, talking about killing the hand of the farmer, and yet they are lamenting of the syndicate and the scandals we saw in the fertilizer recently. And nonetheless, some of it has been replaced, but it is not adequate to ensure that the farmers actually live up to it. Because like this farmer will have to get to show what he's doing on the other side to ensure that he has full utility on what he gets from the cow, to ensure that they have the compost manure, to ensure that at least there's enough supply for what is to be applied on the farms.
I'm sorry to say this, but allow me just to say this.
Just say it.
Number one, we thank the president for ensuring that we have the subsidized fertilizers that is able to reach the local farmers. Through we have the stores that are within the wards. And number one, in Malawa West Ward, we are lucky because I have a budget through the aid of the governor that I'm having a store for pyrethrum and still farmers. That store will help the farmers that our fertilizer will come direct. I will ensure with the help of the governor that the subsidized fertilizer is coming directly to the farmer, because I have a store that we are almost to put it at Gadengera, or between the border between Gadengera and St. John Village. We have a public utility there where we want to pull the store. That makes sure we'll facilitate the farmers with for them to get the fertilizer within our farms. That is one. Number two, we are ensuring and making sure that we have the agriculture officers. They come within the farms to investigate and sensitize our farmers on what and do when to plant, when to cultivate, what's the light chemicals to use, and the best farm plant that is and the timing of planting those trees or the plants. That's, I'm saying, we have the agriculture officers who are moving around.
But the farmer said they are not. They are hardly seen. If they do.
I said we have opened a new page.
All right.
Because now we have realized agriculture is the savior of this nation. So let's start by saying we have opened a new page, a new chapter that we are giving full 100% support to our farmers. So I don't want us to go back to what was happening to the previous regimes. Let's now start looking by what we are implementing as of now.
So somebody in the insight of venturing into this, are we looking at days where maybe wine bottles will have made in Kenya, other than having these brands from South Africa and Egypt? Church wine, not from Egypt, but from actually made in Naivasha, Kenya? Yes, no?
Yes.
And what are you doing to ensure that that wine press investor has actually put up a plant around here?
I stand 100% with Kenyan farmers, and especially in Malewa Westward. I make sure I facilitate them with the best equipment, with the best products, so that we can have more production from our farms. With that, we are, for example, if I support this farmer, the production, I will increase the production. That will encourage more investors to come and do the farming within the area. It will facilitate more in terms of plant making within our maybe within our region. That's where we'll have factories, investors who will come and have factories within our areas to produce and manufacture this wine. Yeah, because this wine is of much help within the locality, because once, it's a fruit. Number two, this is a pure local wine. Number three, it's a church wine.
Yes.
Let's call a spade a spade.
It is what it is.
Yeah, it's a church wine. And within the county, Naivasha and Malewa Westward, I won't say it's the only, but 90%. It's one of the production, it's one of the area that produce grapes. Wow. So we need to support 100% farmers to do with grapes. And more so, 1 acre of land can produce 5 to 10 tons of grapes. 1 kilogram of grapes, it goes to amount around 400 shillings a kg. So if you can go do your calculation very well, you can see this is one of the richest area in Kenya. So we just support our farmers.
Asante Mheshimiwa.
Yes. Asante.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
My viewer, that is the area MCA. And before we get back to the farmer, maybe on how they do their local brew here, picture this. Pruning this branch, it does not go to waste either, because actually after the pruning, you give an opportunity for a rise of a shoot. Just if my camera person could get here. And this shoot, once it pops out and starts giving rise to small bits here that actually bulb up or blossom to bring actually the bud that actually contains the whole bunch of the grapefruit. Nonetheless, it's the red one or the white one, as popularly known as the white wine or the red wine. And this cutting does not go to waste. 1 stem is actually 20 shillings. If you look at the bush across, this is just counter money and counter lucrative business. Because unlike the farmer just alluded to that fact earlier, he said this is almost a lifetime plant that will be giving you seasonal. Each year it will give production. And unlike mangoes, where we have them between the months of January to around March or April there, these ones are actually timely, because actually at the time of pruning gives an account of in the next 5 months you'll be having a harvest. And of course, the other challenges which comes with it, the birds of the air and the preying, those small dudus which actually have to infest them, and it brings forth troubles. Mwalimu or farmer, the great farmer here, kwa sababu yule anakuangalia wewe ni mwalimu na kisomo ya mwalimu inakuwa bora zaidi. Tunaangalia katika siku ambazo hivi karibuni tutakuwa tukiweza kuwa na wine yetu hapa Kenya, ikiwa hii sekta itachukuliwa kwa kiwango kile ambacho kinafaa.
Yeah, it is possible.
Yes. How?
If we have, let's say we first support the current farmers, other farmers will emulate. So other farmers will come in and will be able to satisfy the demand. And with enough grapes, I think we'll go ahead and have national wine centers. Yeah.
How is it going to be possible having a wine center? Because much of the grapes just goes to the market, and you have said this is a very perishable product, as the truth of the fact is. With this perishable product as it is, because now this is something that you have to take, then put in a press, maybe ferment so that it can turn to wine because of its nature. And we have seen this since the biblical ages. So what can we do differently to ensure that we encourage somebody who has some money somewhere and wishes to venture in this, a plant that will actually benefit the farmer greatly?
What I believe is that for someone to come and invest, he must first see that this crop is there.
Yes.
No one will come and invest here when we don't have the grapes. So I think the starting point should be
the farmer.
The farmer. And not necessarily the farmer, is we be supported, we do our part. Then from there, that is when we can now go inviting investors. Because as they come, they will be able to see what we have. Because I'm sure no investor will just come around. No. Without having, they have to come obviously and do some research and see whatever you are producing will satisfy their production. So we need to do something. Because what we are relying on today, or what we are making, the kind of wine being made here today, is just the local one. Because it is after you do the grading, whatever remains, you have grade 1.
Yani ile viazi imekatwa mkulima ndio anakula.
Exactly. Whatever remains, that is grade 2. That is what is used now to make the local wine.
How do you make it? Perhaps somebody watching will wish to do some.
What happens, this is put in a sufuria. Then is heated, but there is some little water to make sure the sufuria does not burn. Then it is stirred to a porridge-like solution. Then you have a new
container,
bag, sack for that matter, where you put this solution. This solution is then hung, and then down there you have a bucket, such that it will now drip, even if it is overnight. Now, by the time you come, what is here will now be dry grapes, and all the liquid will be in your
other container.
In the other container. You then now sieve what you have in
the other container.
The other container. Then you now put it in containers. Now, these are depending. There are those who want to buy it when it's 2 months, 3 months. You know, the idea is now you leave it to ferment. So, after 1 year, 2 years, we know wine, it becomes better as it ages.
Yes.
Then whatever you have here, the waste grapes, this is now animal feed.
The cows won't stagger?
No. We have extracted all the liquid. So what you have there is now dry matter.
So do you have any scale to just gauge up on what percentage perhaps toxic level as like it is?
Not
we have
really. Not really.
Mhm.
What we know is that the toxic level depends with the age. So if it is that of 2 or 3 months, to not be as toxic as that one that takes 1 year.
Any sugars?
No.
No
you
sugar.
Don't add. They have a lot of sugars, so you don't add anything. Yeah, there are those who can add if they decide, but you have a lot of sugar in grapes.
So somebody who is doing testing, like those who test, when they come to you with a brew, will they be able to tell maybe this is...
this one is now the brewer who tell you, because he knows the age. This one is for 3 months, this one is for 1 year. So it is the brewer who can tell you which is which.
Okay.
You might not tell.
All right. I would wish to let our viewer know that since this farm cannot actually fully depend on the fertilizers, the farmer has actually put aside part of what he collects, the dung and the processes, to ensure that this sensitive plant actually gets a refined manure. And perhaps after our short break, we will be coming back to just give a small insight on what it takes as a farm input to ensure that the plant is healthy. You know, the plant is actually what it takes. And since the fertilizer is not enough, and actually it has more cost aside having the farm manure to ensure that they do this, we are going to perhaps cross on the other side of the farm. You've heard that it's quite big. And we are going to be showing you on how you do that, perhaps as we wind up the show. We'll be coming back with that after this short break. Sawa.
This is one of the sweetest wines.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m. The Grind, where business meets brilliance. It's not just about the ideas.
I was working as a shampoo boy. I used to wash clients' hair on the sink.
It's about making them happy.
Thank you very much, our viewers. Welcome back. Indeed, as it was there before, we are from the farm, and we are right here at where we have a few of the dairy cows, which actually give a very big insight in what the farm input has to give rise to good production. And as you can see here, there is a few cows which actually do good to the farmer, because he actually averts some of the cost that he has actually to endure as he does that. Now, there are a few tanks here, and those are a few tanks that help the farmer to actually have his farm input better placed, because as you can see here, this is part of what he collects, and from what the cows just take, as you can see, that is a real-time activity where the farmer actually give his cows what they have to take. And by the end of the day, we have collection of waste from there and the cows dung actually. And you can see there's a very big tunnel around here. And if my camera person could just move around as we summarize the show, just as you can see there. Mwalimu, ningekuomba ukaribie kidogo ili utueleze vile ambavyo unaweza kuokota hii yote kuelekea hadi pale. Na because they say when it is hot, actually it's not good for the farm, right? Alright. I would wish you to just take us through vile inakuwa hivi na inakuwa tayari na vile vitu mnatumia pale kuhakikisha kwamba mambo yote yako sawa. Tuna kama dakika 10 hivi ambazo zimebaki. Songa hivi hapo.
Okay, we have this waste.
Yes.
After you do the cleaning inside there, you have a pipe here. Then this waste come to this stage. Then we move to the other area. So at around that point, these are waste. Will go to the other side of the farm. Through that pipe. Through that pipe. Yes. This one combines with what we are getting from the biogas. That's right. This biogas plant. So we do it. We do the mixing here. You do the mixing here.
So this is part of the other side of it.
That is it. Then you open, allow the solution to go to the digester. Here we make the gas, which is then, this is the gas going to the kitchen, going to our area around here. Then we have the slurry that comes here. Okay. This slurry can be collected. Can be collected at this point. You can collect it at this point, but in case there is an overflow, it will join with the rest of the manure.
So you are basically saying that the biogas process actually helps to refine the farm input manure to have the best quality of what you're supposed to take to the farm?
Actually, slurry, this one is ready manure. You can take it direct to the farm. It's only that we don't take it directly. There is another area down here where we pilot, then we cover it, give it time to compose.
So as it is already...
It is ready. Slurry is ready for use.
Yeah.
So you can take it directly to the farm.
Yeah. So is what has given, what helps you to subsidize the utility of cost of buying fertilizer?
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
You need a lot of these organic manure. If available, I think you don't need to use a lot of fertilizer.
So
and mostly here we don't use the fertilizer. We just use this organic manure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe as we wind up, do you have people specifically who say that we want a farmer who does not use the chemicals, but they want to use the other conventional ways?
Yes, there are those selective farmers.
The consumers, that is.
Even consumers, there are consumers who will come to the farm and want to see whatever you are selling, where is it coming from? Yeah, how are you doing it? Yeah, they are there, many.
So other than church, do you have anywhere else you take the grape products?
Not really. Not really. Apart from, you have a market, you have an order to supply.
Just
maybe
that.
a supermarket, you can supply. But due to the nature of the good, it's not something you just have a stick it to the market. You come back here with your grapes, but the quality, or a lot of it will go to waste.
You told me you can just have one harvest and you buy land, or you buy a vehicle.
Yes. With necessary support, so long as they are doing well, you can make money.
All right. Now, as your parting shot, what would you wish to tell anyone who wishes to venture into this? Or what would you wish to tell the government to come in aid to this farmer or farmers around here?
To the government, we need their support. To be able to excel in farming, government has to come in. To my fellow farmers, have a dream, then work to actualize the dream and leave the rest to God.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Now, my dear viewer, wherever you are, I would wish to maybe have shorthand notes that we have collected from what has actually been the show this day with Mr. Kariuki, who is a retired teacher. Agriculture is not a thing that you'll have when actually you're on retirement, but you can actually decide to make moves at an early age. And now having the plant as old as 50 years and still giving rise, that is actually a good sense of thought that you can have a plant that each year is going to give you fruit. And imagine having an acre that will give you enough money, which you can just on one-off buy a plot or buy a land or buy a vehicle, as the farmer has actually alluded to this. And across the board, we have the dairy cattle that is actually supplementing that to ensure that in the place of buying fertilizer, to have farm inputs for value addition on what he has to produce, he has actually a tunnel that actually has the processes. Because of time, we will not be able to actually venture into it. He has tunnels that are actually processing all of this to ensure that he has enough to ensure that he feeds the plant enough with what it actually needs. Aside the challenges that have been there from the county government, they say that the hand has not been there and there is hope in the days to come. And actually, as you can see there, the farmer does not actually get into any outlet to ensure that he has his gas. So actually, as we conclude our show, agriculture is business. And as always, as we have done the show in each and every other time, feel welcome to give back your input by the end of the show on the numbers indicated on our screens down there, to ensure that you give your feedback on the shows, and you are welcome to give your inputs or welcome us to where you would love us to come and air what you're actually doing. That is it from these parts of Nakuru County, that is Karati, in Naivasha in Nakuru County. And we sum it up in style, as always, every Tuesday. That is it.